In today's episode, I'm going to be chatting with Amanda Hughes. Amanda is a passionate small business brand photographer, podcaster, and best-selling author based in Ayrshire, Scotland. She has over a decade of entrepreneurial experience. She specialises in empowering small business owners to elevate their brands through affordable, high-quality photography. Having started her journey as a wedding and event florist, she later transitioned into brand photography, combining her creative eye with a deep understanding of what small businesses need to thrive. She's a devoted wife and twin mum, and she balances her bustling family life with her professional ventures. And we're going to get into that in the episode. She's the proud host of the Growth Addicts podcast, an Apple Top 50 show, where she shares business tips and insights from inspiring guests. And I was one of these guests, so you can hop on over after you've listened to this to listen to my episode on Amanda's podcast. And she's also authored the Amazon #1 bestseller, The Sunday Club Social Media Planner, which is a tool designed to help entrepreneurs streamline their content creation in just 1 hour a week. And I also have a copy of her planner too. So whether it's through her podcast, brand photography, or her digital guides, her mission is clear: to help small businesses not just survive, but thrive. So let's get into the conversation. Amanda, welcome.
Hi.
It's so good to have you on the podcast. This is nice because I've been on your podcast and now you're coming on mine.
It's so nice, Sarah. It's so lovely to be at the other end. It's lovely.
So I'm going to guess that some of my audience will know who you are.
Oh.
And they may well have listened to our podcast together, but why don't you, in your own words, tell us a little bit about you and your business?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Amanda. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I loved our episode when you were on Growth Addicts. So it's a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you. So yeah, I'm joining you from Ayrshire today. It's a nice sunny, bright day in Ayrshire in November, which is nice. Business. It's hard to wrap up what I do into one sort of title. And we discussed this as well. I think this is a problem when you're self-employed and you start exploring other avenues, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just as simple as one title. So there's a few things that I do business-wise, but they all have the same goal, and that my goal is to help small business owners grow their business in various ways. So I've mentioned the podcast. I have the Growth Addicts podcast, where we're all addicted to growing our small businesses. Cover various topics on there, like our episodes on time management and the importance of time management and planning in advance. We've covered topics like working with your menstrual cycle, self-publishing, loads of things. So it's a bit out the box, I like to think, the podcast. Or we just cover loads of topics that can help small business owners. I like to think it's a place you can go and just grab a cuppa and sit down and kind of tune in on a conversation, just listen to a conversation, but come away with a few notes to help you put something into place if that's something you've been thinking about.
Yeah,
So
I think that was the one thing about your podcast that I really liked, was that like the goal is for people to then like take away something practical that they can go away and do. So I do really like that about your podcast.
Oh, thank you. And it wasn't something that was necessarily there at the start, but as time went on, and I thought, no, I want it to be a mix between a sort of workshop and a just listening in to someone's conversation. Or almost more than that, feeling like you're there, that you're sat with two business pals and part of the chat. So yeah, as you know yourself, it's all a work in progress, isn't it? Very much still learning. So learning as we're going along with that one, but loving doing that. I'm a brand photographer as well for small business. I work exclusively with small businesses. I have a brand photography membership where you sign up over the year and get 2 shoots a year. So that's fully booked for next year, which still feels incredible to say.
Wow.
I've had an absolute ball working with small businesses doing photography this year. It's been great fun, if I'm honest. It feels very selfish saying that's a job because I really enjoy it so much. I've been to some lovely places, seen some lovely workplaces, been in some lovely beaches. So brand photographer, small business, podcast. This is where I'm trying to remember myself here, Sarah. And then a new sort of addition to my business is get seen, get sales on Instagram, the mentorship. So I've actually just recorded my next episode, which is all about how this came to be, because my business started off as brand photography and then has just evolved and evolved into this. But this is a group mentorship for small business owners who want to grow on Instagram. So if you're new to Instagram and just don't know where to start, or you've been there for a while, you know your ideal clients on Instagram, but you're just putting all this time in and getting nothing back, then that's the place for you to be. What else
And
did I do?
it's a fantastic place. So I'll share with the listeners, like I'm in the
Okay.
group at the moment, and the support, like that community, like and it really is lovely. And it sort of goes along. I've got my planner next to me here right now.
Yay!
So it's
Us
sort of
both, baby.
yeah, you've got your planner as well. So don't forget
Yeah, I
to talk about
know.
that, which is great.
Oh, my
Um,
planner. I love my planner. And that is so surreal, just still seeing people with it. Seeing you having it there. And I met a client, a photography client for a coffee a couple of months ago. She turned up with her planner and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so funny to see these things in the wild, isn't it? So yeah, I have my Sunday Club social media planner. Sunday Club because that's when I do my planning. I take an hour on a Sunday to plan. I have done for a long time, but other planning days are available. So don't be put off if a Sunday's not for you. Um, so yeah, Sunday Club social media planner is a lovely, as you see there, Sarah's got one, this pen to paper planner. It's a yearly planner, undated, page per week for you to plan your content for the following week, which is just such a little key to success, honestly, because who has got time and headspace to think up content on the go through the week? I mean, you have spontaneous content comes to you, and often it's the content that does really well, might just be fun, light-hearted, but your serious kind of nurturing and conversion content, the stuff that's really going to build your community and really lead to sales. Who can think of that in midweek when you're up to your eyes in it? I don't know, not me. So yeah, I've got the planner, but I think we're going to talk a bit about that later
yeah.
as well. Yeah, in terms of time management. So yeah, so got photography, all as I say, with the underpinning of helping small businesses grow. Photography, podcast, planner. Is there anything else?
And your membership. And
My
that's
my
sort of, yeah,
membership, yeah. And then of course blog and Friday emails and stuff. So yeah, community is an absolute heart of my business. It's really important that I feel connected to everyone that's in that community and they feel connected to me and we chat often. And just yeah, I love working with small business owners. It really is an absolute privilege. Pretty awesome
yeah.
group of people.
And you like, I definitely get that from your content, the importance of community and yeah, it's a great group that you've got.
Thank
Um,
you.
So can we, before we sort of delve into the business, can we chat a little bit about your personal life? Because I know that you've shared sort of, openly online, you're a twin mum,
Yep.
so there's that sort of time management side of things when we
Hmm.
think about your family life. Do you want to maybe share just a little bit about that and maybe thinking about, how do you then prioritize everything that you have going on, in conjunction with your business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I have twins. I have boy-girl twins. They're four now, so they're born in 2020. And it really does fly in, doesn't it? The saying that the days are long but the years are short has never been more true. So yeah, so boy-girl twins, and when a few weeks after they were born, my son started making some sort of odd movements and he was really unhappy. But babies are unhappy for a lot of reasons, so it's hard to pinpoint these things. Um, but this, from about 2 or 3 weeks old up until about 4 weeks old, we were just in and out of hospital constantly and um, diagnosed with colic and brushed off as a few things, but a mother's instinct is very strong. And I know they think I was just acting crazy, but I knew fine well something was seriously wrong. I just didn't know what it was. So yeah, a bit of a fight for diagnosis at the start, but when he was around 4 weeks old, he received an epilepsy diagnosis, a pretty rare and catastrophic form of epilepsy, as it's described, called infantile spasms. So it poses a severe threat to development um, at those early stages. So yeah, we literally met with the consultant and had 1 hour to go home and pack our lives up and move into hospital. And we were there for
Gosh.
months after that. Yeah, so, and then when we did come home, I'll always remember this, that the dog ran out the front door and ran off that day.
Oh my gosh.
One of the things you remember, isn't it? And I was like, what is happening? So that's what happened. We had that hour to pack up and get up to hospital. We had to get these seizures, which these odd movements were seizures, had to get
Okay.
them under control as soon as possible. So the short version of what's happened in the last 4 years. So we were in hospital for months locally. We got transferred to Glasgow Children's Hospital because our local hospital had kind of taken it as far as they could. So we needed specialist care. We spent another few months in there. So yeah, the first few months of our babies' lives, a lot of their firsts happened in hospital. And I should maybe mention at the time that I had my own business at the time before I did the business that I'm doing just now. So my first small business was wedding and event floristry, the floral design boutique. So that had been going for a long time. It was well established. Weddings were booked years in advance. Absolutely loved it. But then when I was pregnant in January 2020, and then of course COVID came along and
Yeah.
lockdown was announced in March 2020. So my diary emptied anyway. Weddings were being cancelled, venues were closing. Um, and then of course I found out I was pregnant with twins. So, that all happened. So just to kind of put work life in there as well when all this was going on, everything work life was just on hold anyway. Um, so that was happening in the background. So yeah, so we're in a hospital for quite a long time, and then we finally got seizures under control, um, for almost a year, would you believe? So that was happened in October, and then it was around end of August, September, where our consultant had said, things are looking really good on the medication. We've been seizure free. Let's have a chat about what to do next in terms of we might start reducing this medication, see how we got
Okay.
on. It's funny though, because again, that mother instinct, there's nothing like it. And I thought, I don't know, that doesn't feel right. And then literally within a week of that phone call, seizures started again, and they started with
Gosh.
an absolute vengeance. Um, in and out of hospital constantly. I'm talking hundreds of seizures a week, all day,
Oh
all
my
night.
gosh.
It was awful, and we were just upping medications, trying new medications, chasing the highest dose. Um, but no, we would never go 24 hours without a seizure. It really was an awful time for us as a family, and of course for Archer, his little body as well. It wasn't even a year old at that point.
Oh gosh.
So this continued again, just try to give the short version here. Then a new diagnosis where it was diagnosed as refractory epilepsy, which means drug resistant. So we had maxed out all the options for medication and none of them were working. So it was considered then drug resistant. Archer had also started to acquire a right hemiplegia, which is a weakness on the right side of the body, which led to them thinking that, well, knowing as well through MRIs that he was having focal seizures, which means his seizures were coming from the left side of the brain. So, and that again, it was always these extreme appointments of news. We were told in one that was refractory, there was no more medication to try. He was developing a right hemiplegia, which would probably be a disability for life on the right side. And also that the only next option that might work would be neurosurgery, where they
Oh
go in
my
and
gosh.
disconnect the left side of the brain permanently in a bid to maybe stop seizures. Might stop seizures, but so that's a might, and what it definitely will do will cause permanent disabilities on the right side and a
Gosh.
50% loss of eyesight, so be permanently visually impaired. So you can only imagine that decision. That decision was put to us. This
Wow.
wasn't like we're rushing them in for emergency surgery. It's like this is an option if you want. But the other option is continue like this, and his seizures were now in black and white, considered a threat to life. So that's the options we had.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was a tough time, a really, really tough time.
How do you
So,
go in about making a decision like that?
oh, I remember we got home that day. So that was Edinburgh Children's Hospital. I remember coming out of that appointment and having to unclench my jaw. I didn't even realise, but it had totally locked, just so tense. Um, And we are like, I don't even know where to start. And then when we got home that day, he had 10 seizures within an hour, and the decision was made. We couldn't continue like that. We had to try something. So we'd pretty much made a decision there, although we wrote a lot of pros and cons lists. We were counselled really well with like the top neurology department, Glasgow and Edinburgh. We had a lot of support to answer questions. You know, every question we had, we were put in touch with another family who'd had this, their son had this surgery. I think at the time it was about 5 or 6 years prior. So we got to meet him. And he was living a seizure-free life, you know, even with these disabilities, he was still living a very full life. So yeah, a lot of support, and we made decisions to go ahead with the neurosurgery, which was 2 years ago now. So he had that just after his second birthday. So again, another few months in hospital between Edinburgh and Glasgow, total rehabilitation after the surgery to walk and talk.
Gosh.
And he's just a trooper. He really is. So always touch wood, but 2 years, just 2 years past in surgery in September, and we've been seizure free since. Touch wood.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so it has been hell on earth. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. It really has been hell on earth. But here we are today. He is a thriving 4-year-old. If you first met him, you wouldn't know the half of what he's been through. He is talking and walking and adjusting with his visual impairment. So he's got a 50% visual loss on the right side of both eyes.
Okay.
So, you know, he can only see at the left, but how he's adapted to that is just incredible. He is a strong little guy. He really is.
Oh,
And bless him, he won't even realise the half of what he's been through. You know,
yeah.
yeah. So it has, of course, left him with those permanent disabilities in the right side. So the right hemiplegia that had already started to present itself before the surgery is now very, very prevalent. As I say, he had to relearn to walk. His foot dropped into a dropped position, so he has to wear an EFO, like a splint on his foot, to keep his foot in a position and prevent those muscles from shortening and staying that way.
Okay.
As it stands just now, he's got no function in his right hand really at all. So that requires constant occupational therapy weekly, twice weekly. While he's young, early intervention to try and get as much out of that hand and arm as we can for him for adult life. So at the minute, he might be able to bring his hand up and like hold a bit of paper and draw something with the left, but the hand itself doesn't function on its own for like fine motor skills, doesn't open or close or anything.
Okay.
So now the stage we're at is there's a lot of appointments.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been a lot of appointments, to be fair. And now it's therapy appointments, neuro appointments, checkups, that kind of thing. But he's in a very, very good place for what we are eternally grateful. The surgeon who did his surgery will never not be on my mind. He'll get a Christmas card from me from the day I go and leave this earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as far as we're concerned, he performed a literal miracle. So. Well,
Wow.
that's the actual short version, even though it's quite lengthy. Imagine what the long version's like, Sarah.
Gosh, like Amanda, wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, so that's personal life. And of course, all the time we had another. We've got a daughter as well.
Yeah,
They're twins, you know, so she came through all this with us as well. Oh, she's something else. She's a very smart kiki. She's very smart. But she's been through a lot as well. She's been separated from us a lot over all of that. When we were living in hospital, it just wasn't the place for her to be, you know. So she was at times in hospital staying with us, but it was really difficult for everyone. So at times she would stay with my sister and come back to us. And yeah, so a lot in her young life as well. But now we're back home as a family, and yeah, it means a lot.
yeah. And so how, like, you're doing so well with your business. Like, how do you manage that around all the medical appointments and things that you have?
Planning. Planning is, I mean, it would all go to poop if it wasn't for planning in advance. Absolutely. So yeah, again, just to touch on that, because I've mentioned I had the wedding and event floristry business, and now what I do is very different. But you know, at that time, I worked with a lot of wedding suppliers, and we were always talking about small business growth and Instagram and whatever, you know, and I always enjoyed that conversation. And I've always enjoyed photography. So after all of that happened, say we got out of hospital, it was just before Christmas, so around December for after the surgery. And then around the January, February is when I really started to feel it. When things started to get better, I seemed to fall
Yeah.
apart. I think everything of being in amongst it was holding me together. And then it just, so I had a chat with my lovely GP. She was just so good. And we had a really holistic chat about what things I enjoyed because I'd lost all sense of myself. I wasn't working anymore. I could tell you anything you needed to know about epilepsy, and I mean anything, like boom, 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 to the point some of the doctors should ask if I had a medical background, but I was just soaking it all
Wow.
in. It was so important to know it. Um, but I had no clue what I enjoyed doing. So we spoke about what I enjoyed doing, and when I finally got there, I was like, I really enjoy photography, always have done from a very young age. I remember taking my camera into the chemist to get my film developed.
Oh, uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I was like, I love not just photography, but the whole editing process as well. And my doctor was like, lift your camera and take it everywhere you go with you. My big camera. So that's what I did. So my business actually evolved from doctor's orders. Started
Wow.
taking my camera everywhere, and then a few small business friends had asked if I wanted to come and shoot some behind the scenes with them, and I was just so glad of the experience and something to do. And it really became that work was a distraction and a break and something I enjoyed. And it was just such an awesome outlet and a creative outlet as well. And then it rolled from there into working with other small business owners, doing shoots and gaining experience to what is now a major part of my business.
I
So it's
love
quite
that.
incredible how that happened. But in
Yeah.
terms of time management around that, so when that started to, at first I was thinking I'm never going to be able to work properly again. Like, I was a kind of a full-time carer for a long time, not just in the way that a parent to twins youngsters is a carer anyway. It's much more than that. There was a lot of medications to distribute, and yeah, a lot more comes with it when you're a parent carer as opposed to a parent, which is hard
Yeah.
enough as it is. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to manage this. Um, but you just do, don't you, when it's something you really enjoy? And that's when planning became even more prevalent. So I've always work-wise planned on a Sunday night for the week ahead in terms of what I had on that week, but also planned my content for the week ahead. So I've done that for a long time. But now that planning became even more important, where the first thing I would slot in would be Archer's appointments. And for a long time, I'm talking 3 or 4 appointments a week, every week for a long time. So only really
Gosh.
recently that started to calm down and we started to spread them out maybe fortnightly, monthly, that kind of thing. And they're in nursery now as well, which is incredible. And a lot of our therapy teams go and see him in nursery too,
Oh, wow.
which is
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, and frees me up. And I know he's getting the exact same care there. Our therapy team are just like part of the family. They're just so good, so good. So yeah, your question, sorry, was about time management, and planning is absolutely key. So I need to know on a Sunday what's happening the week ahead. I've got a calendar on my phone, I've got a calendar on the wall in the kitchen so that John knows as well, my husband, what's going on. We have a shared calendar. I have a pen to paper calendar. Like, although I must admit, I took from our podcast session the 1 point of
Yeah.
truth, was it we
Yeah.
called it?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
call it now the master to do.
Nice.
So I've got rid of a lot of excess there and put a lot of to-dos on this main thing. Um, but yeah, planning. So on a Sunday, I need to know what's happening the week ahead. Archer's appointments come first, anything that's happening with the kids, and then I slot in my work time round about that. And again, since our podcast episode, I've started doing time blocking because I think before I was quite unrealistic about what I could actually achieve in a working day. And some days my working days are quite short. If the kids go into nursery at 9, time I get home, tidy up the chaos that is the house of getting twins ready for nursery, and then actually settle down for work, it can be 10 o'clock. And I have to wrap up about 2-ish to then walk the
Yeah.
dog and go back and get them. So sometimes you've really only got 4 hours to dedicate to work. So I think I was being unrealistic before our chat about what I could actually do in a day. So now, as well as my planning, I also sort of write out on my master to do on the computer what I want to achieve that week, and then I break it down into the days and the times next to it, which is making such a big
Nice.
difference. Yeah. So now I know that task takes me around an hour, whatever. I can be realistic, and it saves me feeling pretty crap at the end of the day. Like, oh, I didn't get half of the things done. Well, you didn't get half of them done because there was no time to do them. You were never going to manage it. This is a much more realistic way of working, and I love it. So thank you for those tips.
Amazing. I love that. Like, yeah, for me, the planning and the time blocking, like it's just so key to getting things done. Um, yeah, I love that. Um, I think also you touched there on, the stuff for the kids goes in first
Hmm.
into your calendar. And that's a similar approach that I take as well. Like the non-negotiables go
Yeah.
in first. And so for me, that's stuff for the kids. And then also like my exercise and
Hmm.
sort of the self-care part for me goes in, and then
Yep.
the work starts to fit around it. Um, and you touched on the fact that, like I love that your doctor was telling you to go and
Hmm.
do something that lights you up.
Yep.
And now that that has become your business, what are there other things? And I know obviously that you love it and it will bring you joy, but are there other things that you're doing like just for you for fun, or like maybe for I don't love the term self-care, but like
Yeah, I know.
yeah, what
Just
what
so
what are you
commonly
doing
used
for
now.
you? Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably a good thing for me to think about because I think at one point I probably went from one extreme to the other. I probably went from being so engrossed in epilepsy and everything to then so engrossed in work. So I just replaced one sort of extreme intense thing with another. I was enjoying it, but there has to be balance, obviously, some sort of harmony, doesn't there? So over this year, I think, yes, I turned 40 in February. I know I don't look at Sarah, right? You don't have to go on. Um,
You don't look it.
bless. So yeah, turning 40 in February. I think that was a bit of a milestone to start thinking about that. Like, right, okay, this is still a bit hectic, although I'm very lucky and grateful to be enjoying work, it's still work and there has to be other things. So I've dipped in and out of yoga over the years, but I'd say
Nice.
this year I've got so much more intentional. Intentional was my kind of word for my 40th year. I want to be more intentional with what I do, my time, and I want there to be time for me in this life as well. So I haven't got to the point where I'm time blocking for me, and I would love to be, because I love that you do that, and I think everybody should do that. It is so important. The whole have to put your own mask on first, etc. It's true. So I'm not quite there yet, but I do yoga every day, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, whether it's in the morning or just before bed or it's at lunchtime, whatever. But I'm just kind of slotting it in. And there's some days where I would like to do the hour, but I only do 5 minutes because I've not made proper time for that. Excuse me. And that's the thing as well with turning a hobby, what started as a hobby photography into business as well. It's kind of taken a hobby away. And it's
Yeah.
not to say that I don't enjoy it because I do, but it's different now. And that's the trade-off, isn't it? That's fine. So I've actually just started some little projects, like I've started hand sewing. So
Nice.
random. And it's so good because, this is going nowhere with a business idea, right? I've just made a yoga bolster and it's like Frankenstein's yoga bolster. It is sewed up about 10 times at the back, but I made it. I made it from an old dress that I was never going to wear again. And it was just the time, it was so intentional and mindful, just sewing. I don't want to use a machine. I want to create it with my hands. It gets me away from my phone. It gets you just so focused. I love it. So I'm just like, find myself saving fabrics to just make something like
Nice.
it's so random, but I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'd say I've got yoga going on, got some little projects, just some little fun projects that are never ever going to be anything business related. Um, and then just spending time with friends and family and getting a bit out and about. And gosh, I mean, us just being even to able to enjoy our time without worrying about seizures is incredible for John and I. Like we were at a wedding at the weekend there. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I don't have a care in the world. Just sitting there with a glass of wine at the wedding. And I knew the kids were with my sister, and we know she knows what she's doing with meds, but also, we've not had a seizure for a long time. So it's not at the forefront of our
Yeah.
mind as much as it was. And like, because before, we couldn't leave them for long. You just couldn't, because that's a huge thing for someone else to manage. Even my sister, who I'm incredibly close to, um, it's still massive for someone else who's not their parent to be dealing with a seizure. You can only imagine how scary it can
Yeah.
be. So yeah, just for us to even enjoy our time, um, yeah, that in itself is lovely. But I would like to start scheduling in me time. That's something else I'm going to take away from this.
Nice. Yeah. The thing I do, so I do sometimes struggle to sort of just sit. So
Hmm.
I do like to sort of be doing something. And what I've taken to doing, and I spent a lot of time at the end of last year, was Lego.
Oh,
So
fun. Mhm.
I've got so much Lego from the kids, and it's
Yep.
something that I really love. Like my inner child
Yep.
loves Lego because I spent a lot of time like building when I was younger. And so I spent last Christmas like trying to organize and sort some of the Lego. And I was like, we just had such a mishmash of pieces everywhere. And I was trying to then like rebuild some of the kits that we had and stuff. And that
Hmm.
brought me so much joy. Like,
Hmm.
favorite TV show on and the Lego and just tinkering
Yep.
about. Like I loved it.
Yep, and you're not striving for perfection, you're just purely having fun. In fact,
Yeah.
I've just read a book recently, I'm not quite finished it, one of the Hygge books by Mike, oh, I forget his second name, don't know if you've seen them. And he's talking about the whole Danish Hygge Scandinavian way of life. And it was something about Lego because I'm sure it's Danish made,
Yeah.
and Lego itself literally means like let's play or something. I'll need to send you that later.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
something about Lego that its origins is from that. I'll send you that one later when I'll find the book. Yeah, it's good.
Love that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And like I'm not making a business out of Lego. Like,
No.
there is no way I'm planning on like monetizing it in any
Yes.
way. So it purely is just for play.
And as an
Um,
entrepreneur, that's refreshing, isn't it? Because you can't help but see opportunities in various things, if it's something you enjoy, if you're an entrepreneur minded like that, but to just do something where that's absolutely no chance
yeah.
is nice.
And have you always been entrepreneurial, like from being a kid growing up?
Well, looking back, perhaps. I mean, I had my little a la carte kitchen. I had older brothers and sisters, and I always remember selling them cups of diluting juice for like 5 pence when my older brothers and sisters would have friends in. What a great business idea, and they paid it. So I
Nice.
guess thinking back then, however, life takes you in all sorts of twists and turns, doesn't it? And I worked in banking for a long time, for like 13 years, and made up to a branch manager within one of the retail banks chains. But I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It was never fulfilled. Oh God, it was just awful. And that's why then at the time I had taken a floristry course as well, because I knew I wanted to try being self-employed, but I just didn't know what with. I knew it was something I wanted to try though. Even if I ended up hating it, I had to scratch that itch.
Yep.
I definitely knew it was something I wanted to try, and now I cannot imagine being employed. So John says I wouldn't last 2 minutes employed now.
Yeah, it's hard going back when like for me like the freedom and that flexibility as well to be able to work around kids and things like it really is
Hmm.
uh makes a massive difference. Although there are like I do see shifts in the corporate space and the corporate jobs that I did have they were flexible to a degree.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, I think it can be found if you look hard enough for it.
Hmm.
Um, can I circle back to the planning? So just then
Sure.
starting to think about like your business. So what sort of tips would you have then for the small business owner that's maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed? Like I know you and I are both massive advocates of planning, but like from your perspective, what might they do to help stay on top of things?
Yeah, yeah, definitely plan in advance. And this planner was born out of on a Sunday night on my own Instagram, my own business Instagram. I just used to casually jump on, like, oh, that's me doing my planning for the week on stories. And I kind of casually named it Sunday Club. Anyone else doing planning? Join Sunday Club. But sometimes you're in your own profession and you just presume everybody's doing the same thing, like everybody knows that and everyone's planning in advance. Well, I was inundated with messages, people like, well, what is it you do? How do you plan? What's your process? I was like, oh, well, I do this, that, and the next thing. And they're like, right, jotting that down. And that's how this idea came out. And I was like, should I put this in some sort of document? I think at first I was just thinking something printable. And then it evolved into the idea of a desk pad and then evolved again into what it is just now that you showed us the planner. Um, which I published, self-published on Amazon, and it became an Amazon #1 bestseller within a few hours of its launch. How
Well done.
incredible is that? Yeah, and we've got over, so it comes with a little free private Instagram page as well, where we just chat about motivation and check-ins and just kind of reminders and things like that. And there's over 70 business owners in there, so it's just incredible. Um, but yeah, tips I would say from the planner, taking it from the planner, because that is my process that I share in there, is do it on a weekly basis. And by all means, planning your week ahead, like I've said there, I have to take kids into account and whatnot, or any appointments or anything first off, because they're non-negotiable. Um, but in terms of your content, so your social media content for your small business, do it weekly. And first thing to do is look at your insights on your platforms, or whether you use a scheduler, you've got insights on there, or Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be. Look at your insights for the week before and jot them down and start taking a note of them so that you can compare week on week and see what's working and what isn't. There's so much information in there that you can learn from. And honestly, if you're not checking them, you're missing a trick. That can base so much of how you go forward. You can take the information from there. So looking at insights, what worked well the week before, and then thinking about your priorities for the week. So have you got a class coming up this week or perhaps the following week that you want to promote? You've got a product that's not selling great that you really want to give a bit of spotlight to? Have you got a service that you really want to get out there, a new freebie, whatever it might be? Think about your priorities for that week. And we're doing all this before we even think about reels or carousels or whatever we're going to
Yeah.
actually put out there. What's working well just now? What isn't? And what are my priorities for this week? And then we've got the Monday to Sunday, and it's not boring columns or anything. It's a big squiggly blob where you can just write all your notes in, um, and just start hashing out some content ideas. But the planner will also help you bear in mind content pillars and this whole attract, nurture, convert strategy that I use, so as to keep your content interesting, but also to create that sort of sales funnel, which is essential when you're a business. That can't all be sales heavy content. It can't all be just value educational content. It has to be a real mix to sort of lead the client from being a follower to a paying customer. So planning with strategy, planning with
Yeah.
strategy, planning with purpose. Don't just throw it out there because it's unlikely to work and you're wasting your time. You don't have time to waste. That's the
Yes.
biggest
Love
complaint
that. Yeah.
from small business owners is I don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, you definitely need to be planning in advance. It's like that whole meditate for half an hour unless you're busy, then meditate for an hour. So
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes.
a bit like planning as well. Um, and I have got that planning process down to an hour. I take an hour on a Sunday night after the kids are down, and hash that out. And I always schedule at least my Monday post. So I know that's out the way because Mondays just tend to just kind of eat you up a little, don't they? Um, and then at least going through the week, I don't have to think because I've already done the thinking on the Sunday
Yeah.
night. But some of our planners plan on a Thursday, a Friday, a Monday, whatever day is good for you, just as long as it gets done before the week swallows you up and takes
Yeah.
you away.
Yeah. Love that. And I think you're right. I talk a lot about planning and planning our schedule, and again, like looking holistically at work and personal life and whatever. But it's the taking the time to reflect. So
Mhm.
from a schedule perspective, it's thinking about, okay, so what worked last week in terms of my schedule, what didn't work, and so on. And it's sort of a similar process, but through a lens of like thinking about your social media.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, there's so much you can learn from looking back, isn't there?
And
Yeah.
I think from being in the group, like this whole I forget the three words, nurture, attract, what was the other one?
Convert.
Convert. So
Yep.
this has been sort of, I think you've opened my eyes to that being part of the group.
Hmm.
Because I think what I've been doing is probably an awful lot of the nurture
Hmm.
and the education piece, but
Hmm.
less so I'm the people that are in my audience, I am giving great value, but I'm
Yep.
not really attracting in new people and I'm not
Yep.
converting the people that are already
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Um,
That's a funnel
yeah.
problem. Yep. It's
So that's
a bit
been
like
really great, sort of learning more about that from you.
Oh, good, Sarah. I'm glad. I kind of liken that process to a bit like dating. So, like the attraction phase is a bit like, we've just met, we're looking good, we're putting our best foot forward. It's the attraction phase. And if you liken that to Instagram, where you're trying to put out sort of relatable, shareable content, maybe fun, light-hearted content for people to be like, oh, that's a bit relatable, or that's me, quite like that. I'll have a look at that profile, I'll follow along, quite like that content. And then you've got the nurturing where in a relationship you're maybe a few months in, you're starting to get to know each other a bit better, seeing, a bit more deeper, a bit behind the curtain about what that person's like. That's the nurturing content where it's like if you've got a brick and mortar, it's behind the till, or your online service provider, a bit of a peek into your personal life, which could just be out walking the dog or making dinner and having a chat just as if you're on FaceTime, or sharing educational pieces about your industry, which helps position you as an expert, let them know you know what you're talking about here without actually talking about your offer. You're just talking about your industry as a whole, getting to know you better, and then convert. In the dating world, whatever you do at conversion stage is entirely up to you. But in the sales world, that's where we're hoping to take that relationship from just a follower who just liked your content, who then got to know you a wee bit better, who then becomes a paying client. That's the idea.
Yeah, love that. What a fun analogy as well. That's good.
If only dating was that simple, I guess.
Oh my gosh, yes. Um, it really is so interesting. I'm learning a lot from the group.
Good.
So yeah, I shout out there.
Oh, thank you. I love
Um,
having you there.
is there anything else, Amanda, that you would like to share with the listeners?
Gosh, I don't think so. I think you've got a good chunk of my life story there, Sarah.
I
Um,
know that and thank you for sharing so openly and honestly as well. Like that, what a story.
yeah.
And it is so interesting to then hear it, through that lens of like time management as well, because that has been a massive challenge, clearly. So it's interesting to hear your insights on it.
Thank you. No, it's been lovely to share. It's always nice for you as well to hear things back, isn't it? And kind of reflect on how far you've come, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is nice. So yeah, no, not at all. Nothing else to add. Just plan, plan, plan.
Yes, love that.
Plan,
Plan
plan, plan. And
ahead.
plan doesn't have to be a laborious task, make it fun. Tag it onto something like you always plan with your favorite drink. Some of us have a glass of wine, big cup of coffee, nice hot chocolate, and settle down to do it. No, free of distractions. It's some time for you and your business. So don't try and make it nice if you can, not something that you dread.
Yeah.
And then think of your Wednesday, Thursday self. They're going to be so grateful for your past Friday, Sunday self.
Yeah, 100%. I think that a lot of people maybe find planning restrictive and they don't like the thought of planning in advance
Hmm.
because, is it then taking away the spontaneity
Hmm.
or, whatever. But like I find by planning in advance, I get more time back, which
Yes.
then allows me more time for the fun, the adventures, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So it's thinking about how can you reframe planning. Um, and that comment around thinking of your future self, I think is
Hmm.
really, really impactful too.
Yeah, and I think I
Yeah,
was one
love
of those
that.
people, Sarah, before we spoke about time blocking. I have heard of it before. I thought, oh, geez, come on. Like, I don't want to allocate every minute of the day. But what I'm actually finding now that I'm doing the time blocking for my day is rather than like hastily in a rush, logging off at 20 past 2 and only walking the dog for 10 minutes because then I need to go and get the kids. I'm logging off at 2 because I know I'm finished then. I'm having a tidy up, getting the house in order. I'm taking the dog a nice walk, a nice half hour, 40-minute walk before I come back and then go and get the kids. Like, so it's freeing up time for the things that I
Yeah.
enjoy as well. And when it comes to content planning, definitely don't rigidly plan out your week to the point where if a good idea comes to you on Wednesday, you're like, oh, I can't share that because I've already got that, planned for Wednesday. Absolutely leave room for spontaneity and those fun reels that you just want to pop in or stories you just feel like popping up on. Absolutely. But just make sure the bones, the foundations are there of what matches your business priorities and your business goals. Make sure they're there. And then anything else you slot in is just a bonus.
Love that. Such good takeaways and insights. Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Where can the listeners find you online?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram. It's my favorite place. So I'm amandahughes.uk on Instagram. Come and find me there. Yeah, just like the chat on there, like a fun reel. Very big fan of a fun reel. Um, yeah, and I'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions at all about content planning, then my DMs are always open.
Amazing. Well, thank you so, so much. And I'm sure I will chat with you soon.
Absolutely. Speak soon. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.